Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel. It's a Friday morning, and the Priest is back with their 19th studio album, Invincible Shield. Let's talk about it. First off, some fast album facts. Like I said, this is the 19th overall studio album by the British heavy metal legends Judas Priest, released today on March 8th, 2024, and it's the follow-up to Firepower from 2018. Personnel here on this record, of course, you have the metal god Rob Halford on lead vocals, on guitars Ritchie Faulkner and Glenn Tipton, although I'm not sure in his current state how much input Glenn Tipton had on this record and how much he really played, but he is credited here on guitar. Ian Hill on the bass, Scott Travis on the drums, and it was produced by Andy Sneap, the band's current touring guitarist. Time for John's 5, my top 5 favorite songs from the new album. Coming in at number 1, I'm going to go with The Serpent and the King. This is a definite contender, in my opinion, for best Judas Priest song of the 21st century. What a heavy, driving song here, almost harkening back to the band's work during the Screaming for Vengeance era, I think, at times. Stellar guitar work here on this record, and on this track in particular. Also, great drumming by Scott Travis. And Rob Halford's vocal delivery, I think, is fantastic. It sounds like something right out of the early 80s, and he sounds better on this record than I think he did on Firepower for sure. Great stuff here. My personal favorite on the album, The Serpent and the King. Fantastic track. Definitely does keep up the energy as the second song on the record, and in my opinion, the best song on here. Probably going to sound incredible live, so definitely gives off some Painkiller vibes, which I'll go back to several times throughout this review, but fantastic song here. Very heavy stuff, very much in the vein of classic Priest. Coming in at number 2, I'm going to go with Panic Attack. It's the album opener and was released as the lead single for the album many months ago, back, I believe, in October. Definitely got me excited for the record. The intro definitely reminded me at first of something from the Ram It Down or Turbo era with the synths before exploding into a much heavier track. Honestly sounds like a cross between something off of, Painkiller and Ram It Down, maybe a hint of Firepower in there as well. Great pick, I think, for the lead single, and it makes for a killer album opener as well. So, awesome stuff here. It's heavy, it's got a really catchy chorus, and it's very memorable, all things considered. So, fantastic stuff here for my number 2, I think. Panic Attack and then Serpent and the King make for a great 1-2 punch to start the record. For number 3, I'm going to go with As God Is My Witness. This track caught my attention right away with some blistering guitar work. Obviously, Glenn Tipton couldn't contribute much to this record in terms of playing due to his current condition, but, this song is a great showcase, I think, for Ritchie Faulkner, who has a number of fantastic solos on this record, really on fire on this album, but in particular, I really enjoy some of his work on As God Is My Witness, so I think that's fantastic. Ritchie sounds great, and the song reminded me a little bit of Between the Hammer and the Anvil from Painkiller, which I thought was kind of cool, going back again to that Painkiller influence. Following that up now with my number 4, we have Escape from Reality. This song, I thought, really sounded like a fight song, Rob Halford's post-Priest project Fight. I thought, the delivery of the chorus here by Halford sounds like something right out of War of Words, so I thought that was kind of cool, and, definitely did remind me a little bit of Fight there. Ultimately, I don't think the middle of this record is as strong as the beginning of the album, but this is one of the songs from side 2 that I enjoy the most. So, coming in at number 4, I'm going to go with Escape from Reality. And finally, rounding out my top 5, I'm going to go with Crown of Horns. Probably the most commercial-sounding track released for the record. It was released as a single as well. Nice change of pace, I think, for Priest here, going for more of a power ballad on this track. Still pretty heavy in its own right, with a really catchy chorus. Definitely an earworm for sure. So, solid stuff. Another really strong single that was released. Priest put out a number of really strong singles in anticipation for the album that got my expectations way up, and so this was another really strong single. So, to round out my top 5, wanted to go with Crown of Horns. Solid stuff, very catchy, very clean production. Ultimately, I'm giving this album 8 out of 10 stars. There's a lot to unpack here. It's a very heavy record, pretty much from start to finish. I think Rob Halford still sounds fantastic here, and the band sounds really tight, and yes, a little bit more progressive on this record compared to Firepower. The only thing I think that brings this album down for me is that I feel like there are a number of songs on side 2 that aren't as strong as side 1. Tracks like Sons of Thunder, Giants of the Sky just don't grab me the way that I hope that they would. And, otherwise, though, this album is, really great. Has some amazing moments. I think definitely pulls influence from records like Painkiller, Screaming for Vengeance, and does kind of follow in the footsteps of Firepower. And, at its best, provides some of, I think, the best tracks of the post-reunion era here for Priest. Hopefully, some of the other tracks will grow on me. Like I said, there are few songs that was rather underwhelmed with, but the songs that work on this album work really well, and I think, again, like I said, provides some of Priest's best material in many years. So I think this album is on par with Firepower for right now. Obviously, it just came out. There's going to be a lot of time to continue to listen to it and, form an opinion over time. But, as for, the first 2 listens I've given it, I stayed up to midnight to listen to it. I've been listening ever since. So I've given it 3 listens so far. I feel like it's on par with Firepower as of right now. I think this album does suffer a bit from, its own hype. All of the hype surrounding this record, came from the fact that they announced this album and started releasing singles like 6 months out. So some of the singles released led me to believe that the album was going to be, the heaviest Priest record since Painkiller, right? When in actuality, it's more like another Firepower, which I liked Firepower. Nothing wrong with that record, and there's nothing wrong with this album. It's just, I think this album, the singles that were released, got my hopes up just a little bit too high. But all things considered here, it's still a really solid record in my opinion. Very strong stuff by Priest. I am very happy that they're still releasing new music, and this has been a great year so far for British heavy metal. Of course, Saxon and Bruce Dickinson, now Judas Priest, all releasing some great stuff in the early months of 2024, so that's great to see and hear. This album will definitely be on my list later on in the year when I do my year-end countdowns for, some of the best metal albums of 2024. The guitar work is blistering here. I think it's a great showcase for Ritchie Faulkner. With Glenn Tipton in his current condition and KK Downing probably never coming back to the band, I think Ritchie Faulkner is going to get more and more appreciation from Priest fans over the years, and his work on this album is pretty stellar as far as I'm concerned. So, did this album live up to the hype? I think my expectations were very high, and so it did just come in a little under my expectations and my hopes, but still nonetheless very strong in my opinion. I think 8 out of 10 stars is fair, and again, like I said, who knows, maybe some of the songs that I found to be a bit underwhelming will grow on me, but ultimately very pleased with this release by Judas Priest. So that wraps up my review of the new Judas Priest studio album, Invincible Shield. I definitely want to hear from you. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on the new album. Did you enjoy it? Were you disappointed? Did it live up to the hype? What's your favorite song? All of that stuff I want to hear down in the comment section below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, help me reach 2.4 thousand subs here on YouTube, turn on the bell for notifications so you don't miss a new upload, and until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.